Welcome. I'm Victoria Schneps, the publisher of the Home Reporter, the Brooklyn Spectator, and the Spectator News. And you're watching Victoria's Stars. And today we do have two beautiful stars shining brightly in our studio. One is Orly Moore. Orly runs a very interesting company that you're going to learn a lot about. And Sean Slevin, who is running a swim foundation that is close to my heart because I'm blessed to have an indoor pool, which is called an endless pool, where I swim against the current 5 days a week. And I'm in that pool, and I bring my grandchildren into the pool. Sometimes I convince my daughter to come in. And I love just being surrounded by the water and to feel that energy of the water. So when I met Sean, I said, I've got to hear more about what you do. These two ladies save lives in different ways, but they do save lives. Sean, talk to me a little bit about the things you're doing right now, because I know you've had previous lives like me.
Sure. It's like a cat with 9 lives.
Yes.
Well, I am the founder of Swim Strong Foundation, and we are a 501c3, a not-for-profit. And our mission really is to save and to change lives through the great sport of swimming. And we save lives by making swimming affordable for families. Many people don't realize this, but drowning is actually too common an occurrence here in the United States. Every day, on average, 10 people die due to drowning. It is the second largest cause of death for children, 14 and under, here in the U.S., with kids of color drowning 3 times more than their Caucasian peers. And it is the leading cause of death for children 5 and under.
Shows you why it's so critical
Yes.
to be trained and to have that. I know my little granddaughter in Florida is just approaching 1, and her mom's been giving her swim lessons, but I think maybe more it's survival lessons.
Survival, where the children can turn over onto their back and they can float, and this way the adults hopefully have more time to see that the child is in the water and they can retrieve the child. Yes.
So what is
Different
the youngest age that you start working with a child?
3 to 5 with an adult family member in the water as well. We're a little different from other programs in that our focus is competitive swimming skills because of the effective and efficiency of those skills. Even if people have no interest in becoming competitive swimmers, you know, you have a picture in your mind of somebody who's beating their way across the pool and they get to the other side and they're just beat, right? They're done. They're done. Well, we'd like them to really be able to swim many laps of the pool and get the benefit of the wonderful exercise. I mean, swimming is the best cardio, the best pulmonary, and as we get older, the best skeletal friendly
Oh my
exercise.
God. Is that ever true? I get in there and I'm as stiff as a board and I come out and I'm ready to do the Olympics. Orly, talk to me a little bit about the wonderful things you do for people. I know you're running a column in my newspapers called Oh Early, Oh Early.
And you got me started on it.
So tell us about what you do for people.
I am a business and personal coach, mostly for women who have been through traumatic experiences, and a corporate coach for personnel where they need to have better skill sets of communication between each other as well as with their superiors. And we know that in corporate America, there is a few challenges about communication within the workforce.
Excuse me, communications, we may all speak the same language, but we don't. So tell me an example of what an Oh Early column would be about.
There is really a random variety of letters that I receive that are intermarital
Do you have an example of one? Can you remember one that you recently wrote?
Sure. My husband likes to be very frugal, and to the extent of really disgusting stuff. So I'm not going to mention them, but they're very explicit. And the wife either believes that she either is going to pursue her husband's ambition or not. And my advice to her was to do what she feels right for her and not to lose herself in the relationship. And if he wants to be extremely frugal, then he can do so on his own and she can follow her own heart. I do give some of the quirkiest advice as well to make it light and friendly.
Like what? Come on, share.
Um,
Putting you on the spot to think of some of those
That's fine.
wonderful
There
stories.
was actually a 17-year-old that wrote to me that she has a boyfriend at school and that her parents told her that she's not allowed to date. And she was not sure if to tell her parents about the boy. And so I wrote back that she can talk to her parents and that it is a good way to have a good communication with them, except that what I said was, if you tell them, don't go and ask for the permission, just tell them what you're doing and that they need to trust you, that if something goes wrong, you will come to them as well if there's a challenge. So on that note, she would feel comfortable in talking to them in not a, oh, daddy, please, instead of just saying, you know, I just need you to trust me. I need you to know that I came from you, so you need to trust me.
Oh, that sounds very good advice to me. I know that you not only give personal advice in your column, but then you also spoke at my office, and I was so impressed. That's why she's here today, because I was so impressed with what she shared.
Thank you.
Share a little bit for us about LinkedIn, and then you could share how you use LinkedIn yourself to be able to build your business.
Well, the one thing that I did also at your offices was to teach people about personality traits and ego states, where they would learn about themselves and how to communicate better with each other and with clients, because I know some of your sales staff really needs to up their game. And the encouragement of that was a big boost for them to understand who they are as a personality and how to listen for other people's personalities. When I came back to do the LinkedIn 101 type of event at your office, it was better received because I knew each person's personality as well and knew how to address each one of their concerns without them knowing that I'm addressing their personality type.
Now that's interesting. So how do you, I mean, is it just literally questions and answers to determine somebody's personality? I mean, could you just like now figure out her personality with certain questions?
By just looking at her, because I haven't spoken to her, so I don't know her. But I would tell you right now that she's a giver and she does not know how to say no to people. So she says yes to everybody. And then she probably gets overwhelmed. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm okay to be put on the spot. And she's a caregiver as well. So her personality would come from, if she would say yes to everybody, she would get overwhelmed and probably shut down and not know what to do with that energy.
Well, is she on the money?
Well, I am trying to balance my life more effectively.
All right, you're
I
on
will
the
admit to
money.
that.
I'm on the money most of the time.
Okay.
It's kind of it's really impressive. I mean, what impresses me about personality types is that it really does cater to also the profession people choose, and so I love teaching that. That's my
Great passion.
my great passion. Yes, I would say so.
How did LinkedIn, I mean, then you talked about LinkedIn for my staff because it was a good tool to use.
Absolutely. LinkedIn is amazing on what it can do for people professionally.
Now, I want to know, is it on the stock market yet? Is that something
It
that
is.
they could
It's been actually. It has been. LinkedIn is growing by the huge numbers every single day and every single minute. There's millions
But
of
it's
people.
different than Facebook. In what way?
Because it's professional, because it is more verified
I mean,
in the
it's
sense that,
professional people who use it.
right,
For
and
professional
reasons.
purposes.
Okay,
Correct.
for business purposes.
Thank you for
Okay.
that, Sean. Awesome. So the reason behind it is that your personnel, your salespeople, can definitely go and hone on who is the person that they're targeting to be able to connect with and basically bypass the gatekeepers, because they're all CEOs, COOs, and CFOs. And what's good about it is that they can look into their own contacts and look at who those contacts are connected to and go and connect with those contacts. It goes viral really quickly up to the 3rd degree. And if it's to the 3rd degree, it's plenty. I even showed your staff how fast and exponential their database can get if they just work at it 15 minutes a day.
You're going to have to come back and give a checkup to see if they actually
And that's
are
what I
doing
spoke
it.
to your editor-in-chief about, to come back and do a checkup, because there's some of them that have never set up their account. So to come
Did
back
somebody
and
help
say,
them to
okay,
do that?
they can help each other now. Yes, they have the people who have the know-how.
Watch
so
out
they
when I'm
can-
in the office tomorrow.
Oh my goodness! Oh gosh!
Do you have a profile on LinkedIn?
I don't do
No.
that.
Of course not, Sean.
Maybe it's time.
Well, we'll see about that. But how did you use it for your profession?
Well, I had my individual profile since the beginning. I actually was a beta tester for them many, many years ago when I stumbled across it, and there were computer geeks and finance people, and that was all. And I kind of wrote to them and I said, well, what about other communities like marketing or human resources, or, the beat goes on. And so that's how I got involved in helping just expand their footprint a little bit. So I feel I have a pinky print
okay. Oh,
on the wallpaper of LinkedIn.
But you're interesting, too, in terms of how you built your career. I mean, tell us a little bit of how you started into this world of water and swimming and water sports.
My career before starting the foundation was as a human resource executive for Fortune 50 companies. And that's really where I saw the value of LinkedIn, because I thought, wow, we need talent all the time, and we need to be more frugal in terms of how we acquire that talent. And so that's how I sold it on my company, to really looked at LinkedIn as a professional recruitment tool.
So in other words, if you needed help, you can put it up on LinkedIn?
Well, yes, you can post jobs up on LinkedIn. For me, it was about finding talent in different disciplines and learning about more and people that were doing other things than our competitors. So, it was a wonderful tool for us. And
We're looking for salespeople. Do you mean I could put something up on LinkedIn and say we're looking for people?
Yes, except that the cost has to justify the means. And what happens is that you have to be very clear on who you're looking for and the job description and everything that you're going to put on there, because the cost is sometimes heavy.
Interesting. Wow.
So
It's a whole other world that I have not entered. But let me get back to you in terms of your career.
And just to fast forward on
Yeah.
LinkedIn for the moment, just this year with the foundation, I thought, I really need to put a corporate page up to reflect what we're doing with Swim Strong and build that out. And that's just very, very recent. It's Swim Strong Foundation, corporate page up on LinkedIn. And, would love for all of your audience out there to follow us and share, because we do put a lot of information up on that page. Facebook was an area that I went to a few years ago to build our fan page for the foundation. And I thought it was a better place to start initially because of the social aspect of Facebook, more relaxed and people sharing social things, and that was a better place for the foundation. But I think there is a need in the corporate setting as well, in the professional setting, to speak to what we do in our life-saving and changing work as well.
Well, I think that's the whole point of some things are good for your social life and some things are good for your business life. So let me just get back a little bit more into, because I'm really fascinated by how people get into swimming in such an aggressive way. I know my dear friend Claire Schulman's children were swimming at the Flushing Y in Queens, and they, they're there maybe 5, 6 o'clock in the morning swimming. Is this still true?
Of the competitive swimmer.
Yes, and you're into that, aren't you? That's part of your world.
I will share with you an interesting phenomenon in that every educator that I've met, including the dean of universities, will tell to me, I know my swimming athletes by their academic excellence.
Interesting.
And as I've, tried to understand a little bit more as to why they say that, what comes out is the organizational skills that they learn in order for them to do an early morning, a 6 a.m. workout.
Organizational skills.
Get to school, do their classwork, do their homework, go to work, do another workout. Sometimes it's, in the middle of the day, sometimes it's after, sometimes
twice
it's
a day.
times, sometimes 3 times a day.
Wow. And this is just for competitive within the school, because you mentioned you work for the high school in Queens.
Well,
originally.
At the collegiate level in particular, you're getting to be quite competitive. And there's just huge demands on these scholar athletes to be able to manage all of this, and the organizational skills, hands down, that they learned all the way from an age group swimmer to
So
that
let me
point.
ask you something. Are you able to identify, since you've been working with this program so many years, at the youngest ages who will shine and continue to compete and be that kind of, what shall we say, I guess, champion swimmer?
Where also swimming, though, gives other opportunities is that for young men and women who may not want to attain the most competitive levels, they can still make a livelihood for themselves as a lifeguard, for example, as a swimming instructor, a trainer. So there are ways, actually, we had 2 young men come to us who wanted to join the Coast Guard, but they didn't swim, and there's a swimming requirement. You have to pass a test.
Correct.
They're now in the Coast Guard.
Wow.
I'm so proud of them. One young man who went into the Navy, another young man became a commercial diver. So these are examples of people who are using the skill well into their lives.
Absolutely. You know, again, I told you that these are women who save lives. And they do, because I think in some extent, I believe that athletics keeps a kid clean. Have you seen that? And have you seen that with the young people you work with, Orly?
With the early child development, what Sean is saying also is that when they're early in their stage, in their early age, that organizational skill and that commitment comes from the parents first. And if the child will change, because people change their need or their aspiration, and that's why she cannot tell if they're going to be successful or not, if it's early age, right? If it's early
What
age.
would you can say is early for your world?
Well, you can have competitive swimmers as young as 8. You know, USA
8,
Swimming,
okay.
for example, they start very, very, very young. But, you know, typically children, when they get into their high school, you know, that
Okay.
ratchets up to another
Sure,
level. And then, of course,
sure.
at the collegiate level is a whole different
Yeah.
game.
Absolutely.
But, you know, for us, too, in terms of the changing of lives, we, from a philosophical standpoint, think of swimming as the root of a beautiful tree with 32 other branches. So if you can swim well, you can explore all of these other water-based sports, and certainly rowing, for example, water polo, diving. There are college scholarships available.
I never would have thought of the connection.
Me neither.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Surfing, not so much.
Well, we're on the wrong coast.
But it's, you know, physically demanding, mentally challenging, and the
Absolutely.
people that you meet in the enjoyment and the engagement of all of these sports, you know, can change your life and be with you forever in your life.
Well, you know, Claire's son, Larry Schulman, is a physician at oncologist at Harvard Medical School, and to this day, he is swimming. And he started out in the Y, swimming on a competitive basis. But it's also interesting to me because my boys are all involved in football, soccer, lacrosse, that swimming is kind of like you're against yourself to some extent.
Yes.
More so than, you know, as a team, even though I know they pass the baton and I've watched, you know.
Well, I do think swimming and track do share a little bit of that, that you can be, you know, very introspective, if you will, and really compete against yourself, because it's true. It doesn't really matter who else is in the pool. You're competing against, first and foremost,
Yeah.
yourself and the clock.
Right.
That's it. But there is tremendous learning to be part of a team when you're a swimmer also, because oftentimes you are chosen to do events that you may not feel are your best events or your strongest events, but you take it for the team, you do it for the team, and if your coach says, you know, that 1 point is going to make the difference, and I know you're going to at least get that 1 point, you suck it up, you step up, and you go and you give it your all, and, you know, it's wonderful.
Now, those rules, aren't those similar in business? Those last words that she shared with us about the skills that it takes to be successful in business?
Yes, and one of the people that I interviewed on my TV show not not long ago was about the challenging times that we have economically and how one that has a successful business deal with those times. And it's by learning how to think outside of the box and do what it takes to change the route of your vision or of your mission. If you know what you want to do, just stay on focus, except that you need to tweak certain things to make things happen and still strive in this economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's funny because we, as a newspaper, have started to do events these last few years that we do the newspaper here in Brooklyn.
Right.
And that's kind of like made up for revenue that when the banks weren't advertising, well, we had the events to be able to bring people together. And, you know, I think a big part of success in business is networking. And you each do it in your own way. Orly, you know, how have you seen networking successful for you in your business ventures?
I say to my business clients that your network is your net worth.
Ah, I like that. Say that again. I like that.
Network is your net worth.
Nice.
Because if you know enough people and you help enough people get to where they want to go, they will in turn return that favor and you'll get to where you want to go.
I'm going to stop you right there because you got to think about that, everybody. That really is a very profound statement.
Thank you. So it's about, and it's not about just going to business events and giving out business cards. I tell my clients that if they meet 2 to 3 people that are influential enough to get them started on a relationship, because it's not who, you know, sometimes they say it's not who you know, it's what you know. I mean, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, it's all about that. It's the building of the relationships. And you start by knowing more about the other people. What can you do for them? Are you able to help them in their business? And if not, then don't promise something that you're not going to do, because that also reflects who you are in business. And I also tell my clients that the way you are in business and the way you are in your private life, so whatever you do, one place, you'll do everywhere. And that means if you don't return your phone calls, you don't return phone calls, period. If you don't follow up on your promises, you never follow up on your promises. So that's something to say about a business person that wants to grow their business and doesn't follow up and follow through either on their promises, on their connections. So either they do it themselves or they can have their personnel do it. I have a few people on my staff that I'm so grateful for that are able to call the people I meet and set up the appointments. It doesn't have to be you. You just have to think a little bit outside the box and get some people to build relationships with first.
Well, you know, you built this foundation. It sounds like from scratch. I mean, I think you took it, you created it, correct?
Yes.
So how have you been able to make it grow?
Well, I will echo something that Orly said in terms of those relationships being important, because I've had a 25 to 30-year corporate life. I'm blessed to have many of those men and women that I've met along the way who are still connected to me very viscerally. And as a matter of fact, are my my board, you know, not my actual
you
board,
kept
but
them
my
into-
advisory board.
You brought them into your world.
Yes, when I have a question around, you know, finances, which is not my strong suit, I call up my CPA friends and I ask them. Marketing, the same. It's been absolutely a blessing to be able to reach back to those people. And there has been trust built up over the years. So we have each other's back. And that's a wonderful thing to know and resources to have to be able to leverage.
Well, I think, you know, in terms of the kinds of training that you do too, I assume that, do you set the schedule for them in terms of those swim teams and help them train for an event? Is that part of what you do with the foundation?
Okay, so now to kind of switch to the competitive side of it for the moment. I'll share with you something that is not entirely unique to us, but I think does make us a little bit different. Our young swimmers.
Define young.
Tweens.
Okay.
13, you know, starting 13, 14, who have developed good skills, who are at that competitive level. I say to them, now you're going to learn to teach. Because just because you can do something well does not mean that you can teach it. So We want them to learn to pay forward their skills in the community. We want them to also learn to teach others. Those skills are different. It affects the communication skills, certainly. It's really all about job readiness because they have to commit to show up, be timely, respect their student, respect
A lot of good skills
the
that you're
parents,
teaching here.
respect- Yes. So when
Okay.
that young man or woman
I
is
have to
ready-
interrupt you for a minute because we're coming close to the end of the
Yes,
program,
sure.
but I do want you to share the website that you have so people want to get additional information.
Absolutely.
Where can they find it?
www.swimstrongfoundation.org.
I like that, swim strong.
Swim
Be strong.
strong,
It's
yes.
really
Strong.
straightens your back and says, yes, I can do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
And Orly, for you, how could people get some more of your knowledge and that
They
you share
can
so
go
nicely?
to,
Besides being in the Home Reporter every
That's
week.
right, and they can go to the homereporternews.com and look up O Orly, O Orly, and actually see all my columns with all the advice giving every single week.
Our
And-
local landlanders, right?
Sorry, yes, your local landers, and hopefully, you know, nationally and globally, eventually, that's the goal, is to get into.
And we want to go there too, so maybe we'll see you along the way. Look
I
at
love
that.
it. Let's follow each other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they can go to www.orlyamore.com, where I have a blog, and www.oorlytv.com, where they can also see how we're doing. It's awesome.
Well, listen, I just thank both of you for being here today. Women who save lives, women who do something very unique and very special to make other people's lives better. Bye now. See you soon.